In this video, I edit a single exposure Milky Way image. Milky Way image editing can be a real pain point for some people, with some people even experiencing self-doubt and frustration, especially if we're comparing our images to those we see online and social media platforms. But let's be honest, these images have been edited with really good techniques, which makes them stand out. So in this video, I want to run through some basic techniques that are going to make your image stand out and you'll be happy to share. Along the way, I'm going to give you 2 bonus tips that are really going to make your images pop, so hang around for those. This tutorial is mainly focused for the beginner astrophotographer. However, these techniques can apply to more advanced images. I'm an Australian astrophotographer and I do tutorials like this one, and I also get out and about in the field and take you along with me. In the field, we'll cover off tips, tricks, and we'll solve issues as they arise. So if this sounds like the kind of videos that you like to watch, then please consider subscribing to my channel. Anyway, let's jump on the computer behind me and let's start editing. Now we've just opened up Lightroom and I thought I'd start out by showing you the end result up front so you know what we're actually going to be editing. So this is how the images come out. I think it's come out absolutely beautiful. And we pulled a lot of data out of that. So we went from this image, dark, dull image, really not much detail in the sky, to this image. And it's come out absolutely brilliant for a single exposure. So bear in mind, this image was shot at ISO 6400, f1.8 in 15 seconds. So in general terms, we haven't really collected a lot of data. That's pretty much all you're going to get for a single exposure. If you want to capture more data and you want to get less noise in an image, then stacking and tracking is definitely the way to go. But if you don't want to get into stacking and tracking, that's fine. This editing tutorial will work on both stacked and tracked images, plus it will work on single exposed images, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is we're going to open up our image, and we've made some minor changes in here. So we've barely just upped the exposure ever so slightly because it was a very dark image to start with. So this is one of my test shots. So I always use, when I go out on site, I'll fire off a test shot just to see where the Milky Way is and helps me frame up the image. So we're going to use this image for the tutorial. So let's get into it. So first thing we're going to do is right click and open up the image in Photoshop. So we right click, edit in Photoshop. And once it opens in Photoshop, the first thing we're going to want to do is unlock our layer, right click the layer and duplicate the layer. And we're going to call it safety. And the reason why I call it safety is just so we can go back to it if we do something pretty bad to the working layer. We've always got a layer to fall back on. So we move our working layer to the top, and then we turn off the visibility on the safety layer. The next step is to make sure that you have got your layer highlighted, and we're going to go to filter, camera raw filter. And once it opens, we're not really going to play around with any sliders in this panel, but what we're going to do is open up this pretty cool little feature over here on the far right column, and it's a little masking tool. So open that up, click sky. And the reason why we want to do this is to separate the sky from the foreground, because in a single exposure, if we change all the settings in the normal panel, then it changes the settings for the whole picture. We're isolating the sky to the foreground so we can manipulate the sky as much as we possibly can. And as you can see, it's done an amazing job of selecting the sky. So here now we can play around with the sky without affecting the foreground. We can increase our exposure, drop our highlights down a little bit. We won't do saturation yet because some of these settings here will actually saturate the image. So we want to do clarity, and that's going to help bring out the core. And then dehaze, which also darkens up the image, but it brings out a fair bit of detail, and you can go over the top really easily with dehaze. So just be careful of that. We can also add a small curve layer to the image, so you just want to make sure we only make some small adjustments here, because we can again go over the top. It's probably a little bit too much in my opinion, about there. And we can add some saturation and change the color temperature of the sky. I usually leave the temperature to last because we go through the dehaze. It does change the color of the sky slightly. So this is your personal preference, remember. So if you want to have a warmer image, you can move the scale to the slider to the right. If you want a cooler image, which I personally prefer, then we move it to the left, which is blue. And now we've done that and we're happy with the sky, we can do another layer for the house. So we want to make the house stand out a bit more without pulling out too much detail in the foreground, because in this image I want to sort of keep this a little bit darker. So what we do is click Create New Mask, Landscape. You can see what each box does here. So I click Architecture and Create. And it has, the mask has bled into our foreground a bit, so we're going to change that. We're going to fix that up. So we click Subtract and use the Subtract brush. And gently and carefully just go around the bottom of the house just to neaten it up. And just remember, this method will work on any astro image. The only time the sky selection is going to struggle, if you have a lot of trees, then it may not work so well. So the cleaner the foreground and the more straight lines you have in the image, the easier this will find those lines. So once we've done that, we can then change the exposure of the house just so ever so slightly and increase the contrast to bring out the detail, as much detail as we can from this single exposed shot. Increase the shadows slightly, but we don't do it too much because we don't want to stand out too much more than the foreground. I'm happy with that. And there already we have got a pretty decent looking image for a single shot. You might be saying it's still a bit noisy, but don't worry, we'll fix that in Lightroom. So the next thing I want to do is bring out the core just a bit more. I'm not sort of satisfied. I think I can bring the core detail a bit more. So what we're going to do is select a brush tool. We're going to click these little boxes here so it goes black and white. Make sure black is on the top. We've got a soft brush. And if you can't find a soft brush, type in soft up here. We've got a normal blend mode. And we're going to use about a 5% opacity. So it's not a super strong effect, but it's going to make a big difference in this core. So what we're going to want to do is hold the Alt key down. And what we're going to want to do is just zoom in. And we're going to paint these dust lanes and just darken them up a little bit. Not crazy, and it's not going to look unnatural. It's just going to help it out. And it's going to give you a similar look to what it would look like if you had a tracker and held the shutter open just a bit longer. So what we're going to want to do is make sure that we make our cursor the same size as these dust lanes and fill in the dust lanes. Just paint them in. And you can spend as much time as you want doing this, but again, it all comes down to personal preference. And just a word of warning, you can go over the top doing this, so it can look a bit unnatural if you go crazy. And make sure you keep your opacity at 5% because it's going to be too strong and look a bit weird otherwise. So just these small lanes, we're shrinking it down. So I think you get the general idea of what I'm doing. So I'm going to fast forward this process and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm finished painting. All right, now I have finished darkening up the dust lanes in the Milky Way core. I think it's come out absolutely amazing. It's come out really good. Anything more would look a little bit unnatural, but to anyone else, no one would know that you painted in these dust lanes. And as promised, I did mention that I would show you how to make your stars pop in your image. So similar to the process we've just done, we're going to hold down the Alt key, make sure we've got our brush selected, and we'll change these colors in a sec. Make sure you've got a soft brush, normal blend mode, and a 5% opacity. And what we're going to do is hold our Alt key down and zoom in. And notice how this little dropper comes up as my cursor. We're going to want to use that. We want to take a sample close to the star, but not right in the bright part of the star, just off to the edge of the star here. So we're going to go click. It's given us the color that it's red. And notice how it's popped up here. We're going to go right above it and click up here. Go make your cursor just a bit bigger than the star. And give it 5 clicks. That's all you really need. Otherwise it's going to look a little bit too unnatural. But you can go more if you want. It's just personal choice. So experiment with it and I'm sure you'll find your preferred taste. So 5 clicks. You can do this to as many stars as you like, but I like to just highlight a few stars so it doesn't look too unnatural. Again, same process. Up the top. 5 clicks. Same color star. You can usually get away with something that's a similar color star. So as you can see, it's already making, similar to the star glow filter, you'll get a similar effect by doing this. So as you can see, you can go over the top. And if you want to bring out some more color in the Milky Way, there is some nebulosity here, and there's some more nebulosity a little bit further up. So you can zoom in on here and do a sample. And notice how it's a little bit light. We can darken it up a little bit and just give it a few clicks just to darken it up a little bit. Might be a little bit of cheating here, but it gives you a similar result to using a tracker. And again, you don't want to go too crazy because it's going to look a little bit unnatural. So at this point, what I'm going to do, I think I can pull out a little bit more color in that Milky Way. So we're going to go select, we're going to go filter, camera raw filter. And we're going to go down to color mixer, and it's already open, which is good. So color mixer, there's some oranges in there. So make sure you got your saturation on. There's a bit of orange, yellow, and just a little bit of magenta. You don't want to go over the top again. And might just add just a little bit of saturation to the image. That looks pretty good. Using this method, we went from a dull image to this. That's come out pretty well, in my opinion. I actually like the look of this. So what we're going to do now, I've pretty much finished all my edit in Photoshop. So we're going to right click this and we're going to flatten the image. Okay, disregard hidden layers. Yes. And we're going to close this down. So make sure your Lightroom is still open. Close this down. And you'll see, you want to click yes. And you'll see a saving box just down here. So wait for that to finish saving and it will close down Photoshop. Just like that. Then you just click X, finish it off, and it brings it back into Lightroom. So now it's loaded up our edit into Lightroom. The next thing we're going to want to do is get rid of that noise. And Lightroom has a good noise reduction system here, and I use the luminance panel here. And I always find around about level 20, whatever you want to call it, is a good setting because it's not too savage and it doesn't smooth things off too much. And there you go, guys. I think that looks really, really good. And we've done all this with a single exposed image, and we've used some basic masking in Photoshop without any expensive apps as promised. So you can still get some good results without these expensive apps. If you want to go to the next level, you can go and purchase Star Exterminator, which can remove some of the stars in your sky. But look, for the purpose of this video, I wanted to keep it simple and show you the power of some of the basic edits you can do in Photoshop. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you've liked it, please consider subscribing to my channel, and I will see you guys in the next video.